Patrick Ta just released his first eyeshadow palette for his brand, the Major Dimension eyeshadow palette. Now, I've tried his blushes before in the past. I didn't care for it. However, I do enjoy the brushes from the brand. So it's like I have one eye on the brand and the other eye is like, just like that. But when I saw the eyeshadow palette, it's a neutral palette. There's nothing really special about the colors. Even so, I was very curious. But then the price tag was released and I said, 65, 68, let me see my notes. Yes, $68 for 10 eyeshadow pans and then 2 pans that are cream eyeshadows. The one eye that was like, oh my gosh, get ready to order. It's hype. But then the other eye said, you know what? Step back. We're going to pick this apart. Boy, am I glad that I did. I already have the Patrick Ta palette at home, but it's because I have these 2 palettes. Now, all I did was a little bit of Googling, just a little. And turns out that the formula, the eyeshadow formula for Patrick Ta's eyeshadow palette matches Lawless, the One eyeshadow palette, as well as the brand, the Baby, the One. How does it match it? It's because Lawless brand is a clean formula. There's no parabens. There's not all that talc and all that inside of their formula. Patrick Ta's eyeshadow formula is the same thing. And I believe it states that on Sephora, like no parabens, mineral oils, all that stuff. That's what got me to think, could they possibly be similar? And they are. The 2 cream pans inside of Patrick's palette, Woman and Lady. Now those 2, of course, are not in the Lawless palette. When it comes to the cream, you're using it maybe as an eyeshadow base to change the color of whatever that eyeshadow powder color is, or you can use it to kind of carve out your crease, whatnot, whatever it is that you might want to touch that for. In my opinion, you can get the same effect with whatever cream stick you happen to already have in your collection that you use for your complexion. So let's say in my case, it's a contour kit. I have those colors already. I have a Maybelline foundation stick in Espresso. I have Woman or Lady already. It's just, as an artist, he is showing how you can use the cream shadows first to add some dimension first, layer it, and then put on a cream, and it just kind of will help with the blending, but also kind of add more of that dimension. That is completely up to you as the consumer if you're going to do that. I'm going to start first with the mattes from the Patrick Ta palette. So if I'm looking at the shade Scandal, the 2 shades that I pulled out from Lawless is the shade called DTR, which again, we're looking at a very common, deep, rich chocolate brown shade. So luckily that was already in the Lawless palette. Also, I have Forever Mine, which is in the Baby palette. Again, a chocolate rich brown. So I have it 2 times. Now, Mother is another rich, deep shade, but in the Patrick palette, I see that more as a red brown, so a reddish brown shade. So from the Lawless palette, I chose the shade Steady. Now, Steady is not as deep. If I'm just going by sight alone from the photos of the Patrick palette, Steady is still not a deep shade. So I would feel Patrick's shade is a lot deeper. Let's go down to Absolutely. Now in Patrick's palette, I see that shade as a nude tan. It's very popular in a neutral palette. From the Lawless palette, I chose Everything, which I feel is a little bit lighter than Patrick's. Again, going by the shade of the pictures. So just a little bit lighter. But also I see it a lot closer to Honey Child, which is in the Baby palette. And it's because that Honey Child, I see more of a peach nude. And going by the photos, absolutely looks like it has a peach tone to it. Next matte in Patrick's palette is Transition. That one I actually matched up to Complicated in the Lawless palette. However, Complicated, I feel, it's a little bit deeper than Patrick's palette. So again, it's going to be slightly off. It may look the same on the eyelid, but again, from visual, it looks a little bit deeper in the Lawless palette. And then last is a shade I thought was a little bit hard to tell from the photo. So I went by the photo in the Instagram page, Patrick Ta's Beauty, on the models, and they had a bone shade, like a bone whitish, off-white shade. I can't tell from the photo where that might be because I thought it was more of a metallic shade. So I'm just throwing this in. If, according to the swatches from the model, that bone shade, again, I don't know the name, that will go with First Base, is in the Lawless palette. So First Base is just what it is, just that off-white cream color, you know, put all over your lid, set the primer and all that. There is no bone shade in the baby palette. Alrighty, let's move on to the metallics and the shimmers. Now in Patrick's palette, he has a mix of, I would say, well, of course there's matte and the cream, but more of a metallic finish, again, going by the photos, versus in the Lawless, there's different formulas in here too, but metallic formula is lacking. So just kind of keep that in mind. So if I go up to, actually start with Divine, which is right underneath the transition photo. Divine, to me in the photo, looks like what I would say like a champagne gold color. And if I looked at Divine, in the Lawless palette, I feel that it matches up the closest to Crushing. Crushing is a champagne tone as well. However, Crushing, I see, is more of that shimmer satin. It's really beautiful because of how it lays on the lid, and it is smooth. So it might just be your preference, is if Divine really is truly a metallic eyeshadow pan in Patrick's, based on the finish, it would be considered unique to his palette. However, Crushing, the color is the same, I feel, as in Patrick's Divine. I hope that made sense because I kind of feel like I confused myself. Let me know if you're confused. Looking at the right side of the shimmers, let's go to Exquisite. So Exquisite in Patrick's palette. That one, I see that shade as more of a deeper bronze tone. If I go match it up against one in the Lawless palette, I see it going with Obsessed, which is really the only copper tone bronze shade here in the palette. Again, if we're also going by the metallic, if Exquisite is a metallic shade, Obsessed is a shimmer shade. So it's just going to be that vibrant. Is metallic, it's going to be a little bit more vibrant versus a shimmer shade. If you don't care about that, you just care about the color, then you go by that. Obsessed is more of a copper bronze shade, I feel, than the deeper bronze tone that's in Patrick's palette. Yeah, I think I got that right again. So if, you know, that matters to you as far as the shade, but those are the ones I feel are the closest in tone. Going down to Legendary. Legendary, I was able to find 2 shades. So Legendary in Patrick's palette, which has that pink tone to it, matches up to Cutie. Very close to Cutie in the Lawless palette, but also matches up to Baby Love, which is in the Baby palette. Both of those in those 2 palettes from Lawless are metallic finishes. So we're going metallic against metallic. But I feel in Lawless, it's a little bit deeper of a pink. It's just slightly deeper. that's just me. I will find that little difference, and I want to make sure that I point it out. But I feel on the lid, it's really not going to make that much of a difference. Now going down to Lavish. Maybe Lavish, see in this photo how Lavish looks like it is a matte in here. Maybe that Lavish is a bone shade, I'm not really sure. But I was not able to find one that would match up. It's just difficult for me to see from this photo if it is. Next shade is Opulence in the Patrick palette. And that shade is, I feel, would match up the closest to Baby Love in the Baby palette. So the Baby Love one is, I would say, not as pink as the Cutie one in the bigger palette. So that's why I thought that this one would match up the best with the Patrick one. And the last shade is Abundance. So again, you have that champagne gold shade, which is a metallic. Abundance, I matched up to Little Doll, which is also in the Baby palette. They both give off that champagne, more of a lighter, like white type of appearance. However, Little Doll is more of a shimmer shade, a satin shimmer, where it just lays flat, but it still gives that shine. Whereas again, Abundance is going to be that more metallic, I don't want to say chunky, but you know what I mean. It's just a little bit of a different finish. Ingredient wise, and what really started this whole craze is in Lawless, the formula, even though it's still, we're talking neck and neck with Patrick Ta's, and you can do it yourself. You can match up the two ingredients yourself and see that the majority, I would say, what, 94%, 95% of the ingredients match up. However, in the Lawless palette, there are additional ones that I did notice were more exclusive to the palette. Like the olive oil, I noticed there's coconut alkanes in there. So just a couple of additions I noticed that were in here. Jojoba seed oil, that was another one that I had highlighted. If I had Patrick's palette, I know I would be fine with it because of the formula matching up. I already know Lawless's formula, it would blend fast and be pigmented and so forth. So I have no issues on that. But the thing is I don't need to get it since I already have the Lawless. That's it. I just wanted to share this information with you. If you were thinking about picking up the Patrick Ta palette and you're like, that price? No. And be realistic with yourself. Are you going to use those two creams in there? If you're not, take them away and just go by the number of the actual powder formula and then base that against, do you have these two? You already have it. I hope this video has helped you in any way. And thank you very much for stopping by and spending a little bit of time with me, day or evening. Please return. And as always, I will see you in the next video. Take care. Bye.